Welcome to this weekend edition of the Daily Dose of Greek. Today we're going to be looking at Luke 6:1, where a new scene begins in the Gospel of Luke. We'll be able to see a characteristic way in which Luke begins a scene and then the way in which he carries it out. So first, let's read the passage. Egenetho de en sabato dia poreuesthai auton dia sporimon. Kai etilon hoimathetai autu, kai estion tu stachuas. Psochontes tais kersin. So we begin with the phrase egeneta de. Woodenly, and it came to pass. This is our aorist active indicative third person singular from ginomai, which is I become. Here it's used impersonally in this third singular, so it became, it happened. And together with de, and it happened that. In older translations, you might find something along the lines of so it came to pass, or and it came to pass that. What this does is it introduces a new scene. It's directly borrowed as an expression, this and its other equivalent, kai, ageneta, from the Greek translation of the Hebrew scriptures, commonly called the Septuagint. And it also dictates the grammar of the rest of this clause. Because we begin with this impersonal verb, and it happened that, we're looking forward to an infinitive for what will take the role of what's usually the main verb of the clause, and then an accusative acting as the subject of that infinitive. This is commonly referred to as the accusative infinitive construction. It's common in indirect discourse, as we have here introduced by ageneta, and it serves what would normally be the role of a nominative and a main verb. So we find, and it happened that, en sabato, on a Sabbath, he, auton, referring to Jesus, dia poreuesthai. This is our present, middle, infinitive from dia poreuomai. Poreuomai is our normal verb for to walk or to go, and so with the prefix dia, it's to walk through. So it came about that on a Sabbath, he was walking through, dia poreuesthai, then walking through what? We find dia sporimon, through fields. This is a neuter plural genitive governed by dia, so through fields. The scene, as commonly in the Gospel of Luke, is introduced by this form of ageneta de, or kai ageneta, and now we can begin seeing what happens within the scene as Jesus is walking through the fields. We find that his disciples, hoi mathetai etilon, were plucking, kai estion, and were eating, tus stachuas, the heads of grain. This word, stachuas, is from stachus, a third declension noun of the type us, uos, and it's masculine, so ha. So stachus, meaning a head of grain. This is the third declension accusative plural ending for the masculine, but if this was a little bit unfamiliar to you, the article, as usually, gives it away, and it tells you that it is, in fact, masculine accusative plural, tus stachuas. So they were plucking and eating the heads of grain. These are both imperfect active indicatives, third person plural, this on ending. If it were singular, it would be en, so third person plural, from the verbs tilo, which is I pluck, and esthio, which is I eat. So both of these featured here, imperfect, giving the process of what's going on. And then we're told a little bit more detail about what's going on. As they pluck and as they eat, we find that they are psochontes tais kersin. Psocho is a very rare verb. Does not appear much in the literature at all, and it means something like to rub or to scratch or to itch. Here, it's referring to what they're doing to the heads of grain. So rubbing them, we'll say, tais kersin, with their hands. Tais kersin is dative, plural, feminine, the article, and then the noun. The noun is ker, then in the genitive, keros, hey. It's a feminine noun. It's the word for hand. what we have here with this sin ending is the dative plural. And so it gives what they are rubbing the grain with. That is, they're rubbing it with their hands. So the image is they're plucking the heads of grain. That, of course, still has some of the chaff associated in addition to the kernel. So they rub it with their hands. And having done so, they eat the heads of grain. Psochontes here, in terms of form, is a present active participle. And it's masculine plural, agreeing with hoi mathetai, which is our second declension masculine noun. So his disciples were plucking and eating as they rubbed the seeds with their hands, or as they rubbed the heads of grain with their hands. So here, with this agenita de, this accusative infinitive construction, and then our normal syntax moving forward, we see this introduction to a passage in Luke chapter 6.